So the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is honestly the last camera I thought I'd ever consider. Working in the film industry, I got used to producing high quality imagery with all the big tools, great lighting, lenses, and color science. I mean, I felt like I was even compromising a little bit when I started using these Sony hybrid cameras for my channel. But if creating YouTube videos for the last 4 years has taught me anything, it's that great images can come from just about any source. It's all about how you use it. Let me explain. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. So the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 dropped over a year ago, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh, another action cam, and kept scrolling. But about 6 months ago, I started noticing more and more creators using this little guy not just as a basic action camera, but as a legit tool for high quality content creation. So a few months back, I decided to grab one myself with 2 specific goals in mind. Now, quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by DJI. I bought this camera with my own money. However, we do have a sponsor on this video, and that is Cordbag, which has actually become a big part of my workflow with this camera. I'll talk more about them a little bit later. Now, my first goal with this camera was pretty straightforward. I wanted to make my behind the scenes setup for these YouTube videos and client work a heck of a lot easier without sacrificing too much on quality. Now, the 2 cameras I'm currently sporting are the Sony a7 IV and the Sony FX30. And while both of those cameras are absolutely amazing, they do require a lot in order to get behind the scenes footage. Now, since my channel primarily focuses on capturing high quality visuals, I needed something compact yet capable. I felt like lugging around multiple cameras, tripods, batteries, lenses, filters, and gimbals was just holding me back from spontaneously creating content. I wanted a grab and go setup for behind the scenes that still maintained similar offerings in post that my big cameras had. Now, the second goal I had was to stretch myself as a filmmaker. I'm a bit of a gearhead, if you haven't noticed, and I can get dazzled by specs and flashy features, which does make it pretty easy to get lazy when tech does so much of the work. Now, I wanted a challenge, and to be honest, this little camera was exactly that.
Now, what really sets this camera apart from other action cams out there isn't just the fact that it's an all-in-one setup with its flippy screen and its gimbal, but the fact that it has a 1-inch sensor. In a small camera like this, that makes a huge difference. Having a 1-inch sensor lets you pull out a lot of information in post so you can be as creative as you want. On top of that, another huge plus with this camera is the fact that it records in 10-bit. For all my color nerds out there, you know that 10-bit is a huge game changer when you're wanting to push colors without them falling apart. Now, I've done a lot of color work over the years as a colorist, and trust me, you can absolutely tell a difference when somebody shoots in 10-bit versus 8-bit. Now, that's one thing I've really appreciated with this camera is that I can push and pull the colors and shape them to exactly how I want them to look without having to worry about the image falling apart. Also, the vlogging function on this thing is cool. It's tracking my face. Now, another standout feature with this camera is the fact that it shoots in D-Log-M. Now, that's not to be confused with D-Log, because D-Log and D-Log-M are 2 different things. D-Log-M is kind of a light log profile based off of Rec. 709, but with a custom curve. D-Log-M does give you more flexibility in post, but can be a little tricky to convert into DaVinci Resolve. And in Premiere Pro, I'm sorry, I'm useless there. I have no idea.
Now, I'll be honest, my settings for this camera are crazy basic. I shoot everything in manual exposure and D-Log-M. I also shoot the majority of my videos in 4K 24 FPS, unless I'm doing slow motion. In that case, I will switch it to the slow-mo settings for 120 or 60 FPS. Then I set my shutter to double my frame rate in order to maintain that 180 degree, and then I keep my ISO below 800, or else in my opinion, it gets a little too grainy. Now, I think it's a lot easier to recover shadows in D-Log-M than it is to recover highlights, so I typically expose for a minus 0.3 EV, depending on the scene. I also set my sharpness to -2 and my noise reduction to 0, just to cut off some of that digital edge, since I really like to color grade this camera with a heavy film look. All right, let's get into accessories with this thing, because there's a few must-haves if you're serious about creating content with this camera. First up in the accessory I highly recommend getting is actually from today's sponsor, Cordbag. Cordbag is basically a company that's dedicated to organizing filmmakers. They make these organizer pouches in all different sizes that you can use to organize and label all of your different camera gear and accessories. I've been using these bags to organize my camera gear for most of this year, and I absolutely love them. These bags are built super well with an extra durable zipper on the top. You also have Velcro on the sides for these fun patches to label your bags, as well as a clear pouch to put insert labels to get a little bit more specific. So the way I use Cordbag with the DJI Osmo Pocket is actually with their medium pouch here. With its 2-way compartment on the inside, so you got a little mesh interior here as a separate pouch, as well as your main compartment, I can literally store
every single accessory that I need for my Osmo in this one single pouch. And it all just zips up nice and protected. I also know that the gimbal isn't gonna get damaged in here because I have it in that protective case. And I think my favorite part of these bags is that I can take my wandered camera bag here and actually using these little clips, I can attach my cord bag pouch to the front of my wandered bag. That way it's just connected to the front of my camera bag so I don't have to take up any space inside the bag. So right now Cord Bag is doing their Black Friday sale on all their pouches and gear up to 50% off. So if you want to purchase some of these super premium high quality organizer pouches for yourself, you can shop that Black Friday sale using my link in the description. Like I said, I seriously love these bags. They're built so well. I plan on purchasing more of them, and they also came out with a lid organizer for the Pelican case that I'm probably going to pick up because that thing is freaking cool. Anyway, I seriously love these bags and I highly recommend using them. Thank you so much, Cord Bag, for sponsoring this video. Now, the other accessory I highly recommend with this camera that is probably a no-brainer is an ND filter. The first one I bought was a variable ND filter from K&F Concept on Amazon. Do not buy any type of variable ND for this camera. It will not work. It will vignette and it won't be consistent. There's some other premium options out there that you can get from either DJI or Polar Pro. I ended up just landing on this one from Neewer. It has a CPL, an ND264, an ND64, and an ND16. I've got the ND64 on my camera right now, and that's typically the one that I keep on when it's nice and sunny, and then I'll throw the 16 on when it's kind of just cloudy or golden hour. But what I like about these is I can store them inside of the little protective case. So when I'm just out and about, I can keep one ND filter in the protective case and then keep another one on the DJI itself. So then I have two on the go with me just with this protective case. And then I can keep the rest of the filters in this case in my cord bag when I'm not using it. But yeah, since the Osmo Pocket 3 is a fixed f2.0 aperture and you can't adjust it in camera, an ND filter is absolutely a must-have in order to get correct exposure with this thing. Now, since I wanted this camera as a behind the scenes, I did get the creator combo, so the DJI Mic 2 did come with it. As far as audio solution, I was actually really surprised that this records not only 32-bit internal to the microphone, but it also records 32-bit internal to the Osmo. That's probably one of my favorite features with this thing. And on top of that, if you have the DJI Mic 2 kit with both of these microphones, you can use that to connect to the Osmo and have two microphones running at the same time with this camera. If you have two subjects on your vlog or live stream or podcast or something like that, then that can be a really, really awesome solution to this thing. And any microphones that DJI comes out with in the future, hint, hint, will also connect to this thing. All right, now if you're really wanting to get some creative shots with this thing, I would highly recommend getting yourself a car mount attachment. I have never bought one of these before, but I was really excited when I bought this camera because a lot of people use this thing to attach to their car and get some really cool car shots. Now you can get a lot higher end car mounts out there. I ended up getting this one from Ulanzi just because I didn't really want to spend like $100 on a car mount. But this has been a really cool option. I think it was like $40. It wasn't very expensive and it holds up really well. It's got a lot of different mounting points here, and it comes with this magic arm that you can connect with the NATO rail that's at the top here. And it will just suction onto the side of your car or on a window. I didn't do this a ton. I plan on doing it a lot more with a couple of friends that are much more into cars than I am, but I did get a few shots with this and it was really fun. Now, the last accessory I want to talk about, I actually picked up not too long ago. I think I actually ordered this like last week, but this is an accessory that I actually plan on using a lot more going forward. So this is a cage from Tilta, and at first I was like, oh, it just adds weight to the camera. Why the crap would I want to throw that on? But then I bought it and it's actually really lightweight. I don't know if it's necessarily aluminum or something, but you just slide this accessory plate into the bottom here. But yeah, and then you can just slide your Osmo right inside there. And then you have a little cage that you can do added accessories. There's NATO rails on both sides here, so you can add handles, like these attachment handles from Sure. And now we can completely defeat the purpose of this camera by, you know, rigging it out a little bit. This has actually been really good for getting some extra stable shots. One thing that you'll notice with using the DJI Osmo is that there's a lot of up and down motion, and the way you can kind of negate that or make it a little bit less is adding weight to the camera. So this is one way you can add weight. It also looks really cool. Like I said, I haven't used this setup a ton, but it's already proving to be pretty useful. Okay, I think that's all the accessories.
All right, So after 3 months of using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, here's my takeaway. First of all, I think I bought this camera hoping to do some more projects with it and really try to pull the most out of it, but I think that's just not what this camera is for me. Let's be honest, most of the shots I got with this thing are not breathtaking or amazing by any means, but in my case, and I think for 80% of the people that are going to be using this camera, they get the job done. I think this camera ended up being like a glorified behind the scenes vlogging camera, and I guess somewhat stretched me as a filmmaker. I've never done any moving car shots before, and I definitely had some limitations when trying to get a similar image from this as I do with my Sony cameras, and I think that is 100% okay. Vlogging and behind the scenes is literally why this thing was invented. It's not meant to shoot your next feature film, but hey, that would be pretty awesome if somebody did do that. I think to really get this camera on another level, there's 2 things I hope could be improved either in the next model or in some accessories. One is a way to change the aperture. I don't know why this is so difficult for small cameras and smartphones, but that would make an absolute world of difference in order to get correct exposure. And I think 2 would be to add some type of optical zoom or zoom lens attachment. This lens is so wide, which is fine for walking and talking to the camera, but for shots like details on a product or following someone around or even just basic framing, a longer lens attachment would be awesome. Now, I debated for a long time whether or not this camera was actually for me or if I should just go back to setting up my other Sony for behind the scenes and stop being a butt about it. But I think the answer lies in the fact that over the last 3 months, I feel like I have been more creative. The easy setup with my camera bag becomes a grab and go while making these YouTube videos or even capturing some behind the scenes on client shoots. I have felt a little bit more motivated to make creative content for these platforms again, because being completely honest with you guys, there was a long time that I just felt caught up in the mundane process of the day-to-day work that I do in my 9 to 5, and hopefully using this camera had a small part in all of that. I think this camera is for me, as long as it stays what it should be. A quick and easy way to capture a variety of shots and angles in order to tell a story, while still maintaining a fair amount of quality. That allows me to focus on the project I'm working on rather than getting a perfect behind the scenes as a one-man band. Sure, it's not going to be the fanciest looking image, but it still looks pretty dang good. But what do you guys think? Is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 the next camera on your list, or are you going to save up and get the new Blackmagic Pixis, or both? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're interested in purchasing the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 or any of the accessories, there are links in the description. And a big thank you to Corebag for sponsoring this video. If you're interested in shopping their Black Friday sale, make sure to use my link in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe watch this video next and make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you never miss out on new young filmmaker content. Good luck filmmaking.